Oh, tickle that today is Sunday afternoon, and I get out of the truck, and I'm going to talk about Jesus. I'm going to talk about God. I'm going to talk about Jonathan. I'm going to talk about his honor there. That's what you're going to talk about today. You know, God is faithful. He loves us. He wants to help us at all times. Except when it's scary. Oh, he's there even when it's scary. Chesley, you know, we talked last week about King Saul. Today, we're going to talk about his son, Jonathan, and about his armor bearer and how they had a big job as soldiers. You know, I think I'm going to be a soldier. You think you want to be one? Did you know, Chesley, there are many kids that they will think, you know, somehow they'd like to be a policeman or a fireman, or a soldier, or they want to be a soldier, or a pilot. There's just different things that young people would like to be when they grow up. But this was a real-life situation where Jonathan had to step up, and we're going to talk about what it is to be courageous. You know, what is courage? Well, courage is when things look really bad, and yet you are willing to step up and help and do what you can. This thing you do is go hide. Well, go hide is probably not the best thing in this situation we're going to talk about today. Oh, this gospel train is chugging up the track, it's chugging up the track. This gospel train is chugging up the track, chugging to the glory land. Oh, get on board this gospel train, yes you can, yes you can. Get on board this gospel train, yes you can, yes you can. We're down to the promised land, bound for the promised land, the glory land. Going to go live with Jesus forever. And anybody can get on board, wants to love and serve the Lord. Now, Chesley, in our story today, it's in God's Word, it's in 1 Samuel. Yes, we were in 1 Samuel last week. We're going pretty much the same place, but we're going to talk about something different today. We're going to deal with being faithful even when you aren't the leader. You know, leaders need to have helpers. You mean like the ones that they get other things done? They get other things done. You know, a leader, they can't do everything. They need helpers, and we can be the helpers that they need. You know, what at the end of church? Oh, at church, yes, we can be helpers. Does the pastor need helpers? Oh, the pastor needs helpers. He has somebody that leads the singing, and he maybe has somebody help him teach a Sunday school class, and there's a children's church workers. There's people that they go out and visit the members in the congregation that are ill. And does he do it too? Yes, he does it too, but he can't do it all. But Chesley, in this particular situation, this was back in the Old Testament times, and remember, King Saul had been disobedient. And he was God's chosen man. God had chosen him, that's right. He was to be the king. That's who God set him up to be, the king. And he was going to help him. He was going to help him. He did help him. And so what happened to him? Well, somehow he became proud and arrogant, and he began to think that he didn't have to have God. You know, he missed it on that one. He thought because he was big, he didn't need God. Well, I don't know. Maybe he did think because he was big and God had chosen him, that now he is on his own. I hope he didn't think he was just on his own. But the Bible said when he was little in his own sight and he trusted in God, and that's when God helped him. That is exactly when God helped him. Well, today we have the situation when he was now such a coward, and the enemy had overtaken them. They was the Philistines, and they was just really mean. They do what they do to him. They killed him. They had killed, and they had what was left were running and hiding and living in caves and thickets and just any place. You know where there was berries? Well, there might have been berries. There was thorns, I know that. I wouldn't want to live there. But Chesley, they didn't have much place to go. Remember now, the Philistines, if you remember from last week, they had taken their weapons. Oh, now what are they going to do? They can't fight with anything. You can't be a soldier. Oh, yes, he can. You know what Jonathan did? His dad, King Saul, had turned his back on God, but not Jonathan. And so the kids don't have to do what the parents do. The kids do not. Everybody has to make a choice to live for God or not. And Jonathan decided he was going to be God's man. And so he's next in command. He might have been next in command because, you know, King Saul was you know, he was in charge, and now here was the son. But the son realized Dad didn't do anything. He thought Daddy's a coward. He's a chicken. He was afraid, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And the Bible said he was just sitting under a tree. And, well, they ain't going to do any good. They're going to see him. Well, I'm sure the enemy did see him. And you know what they were doing? I think they was laughing. They were laughing and said, look at them. They're hiding in caves and thickets and just anywhere they can get, if they can just find a hole in the ground. And they was just laughing at them. And then what's Jonathan going to do? What about their weapons? The only ones that had weapons was Jonathan and his dad. And his dad didn't use his. No, his dad wasn't. He was sitting there afraid. And you know what I think he should have done?
Well, what should he have done?
I think he should have called on God and said he was sorry he was a coward.
He should have. He should have said, I'm wrong to be a coward. I want to be faithful. I want to be true. Lord, you have chosen me. But he didn't. And the other people were scared. And he said, everybody just stay right here.
And what did Jonathan?
I don't know that Jonathan even heard that. But Jonathan knew. He said, you know, somebody's got to do something.
And he said it had to be him.
And he just knew that soldiers were supposed to fight the battles and win. They were in bad distress.
And then it's going to get killed.
They were going to be wiped out. Somebody had to be strong and have courage.
Courage when you stand up when it's scary.
Even when it's scary.
And how can you do? You don't have any weapons.
He has very little weaponry. But he said, I don't need to do this by myself. I need a helper.
I said, ain't me. I'm scared. I need a weapon.
But Chesley, you know what he did? He found a man.
You know what was his name?
The Bible doesn't tell us his name. But we know this. When Jonathan chose him and he said, I need a helper. I need an armor bearer.
Yeah, what's one of them?
He's with him at all times. He helps him carry his armor, and he makes sure he has all of his supplies.
You know, he's kind of the important guy. He's the point guy.
He's a very point guy. He's important. And in a sense, he's like the eyes and ears for Jonathan.
You know, Jonathan didn't have any?
Yes, Jonathan had some, but this man was saying, I'm here with you. I'm fighting with you. Jonathan said to him, I want you to go with me.
He said he would?
He said he would. He said, I'm with you. You can depend on me.
No, I like a good friend.
You know, good friends are important, but what about this when you're going into battle?
I think most people wouldn't want to go.
That's right. They might say, well, not me. It's just the two of us. Who else is going? And Jonathan could say, it's just you and me.
Well, how's this going to work?
And Jonathan said, I've been in tune with the Lord. I believe he's going to help us.
Just two people, you know, what are they going to do?
He said, what we're going to do, he said, he'd been checking out with God and working with him. And, you know, he called out and he said, the Lord's going to help us.
Who else is going to help?
He knows, he said, it doesn't have to be many. It can just be a few.
Like just two?
Like just two. He said, God is here with us and he's going to help us. He said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go find the enemy.
No, what do you need? Oh, he said, not me, I'm checking out.
No, he didn't check out. He said, wherever you go, I'm going with you. I'm going to be your extra eyes and ears. And he said, I've got the supplies you need here. I'm carrying them. He said, I'm with you.
Oh, he's a good friend. He's the guy you need.
This armor bearer, yes, he's the kind of person you need. So then they made themselves known to the enemy. They went to what was called their garrison, their post. It would be like you go down to Fort Sill.
And, oh, that's a big nice.
Well, I don't know how big this garrison was, or this post, or where all these people were gathered. The enemy was gathered, but they made themselves known.
I think I didn't quiet.
They didn't want to be quiet. Jonathan said, this is what he had prayed, and he said, Lord, I know we have to have victory, and I know you can help us. You know, sometimes the Lord does things all by himself, but
sometimes he lets us help.
So he lets us help. He wants us to get in on the victory. And it helps us to be strong when we face situations like this and we trust the Lord to help us. So that's exactly what happened this day. They made themselves known, and Jonathan had said, if the enemy says to us, just stay there, that's what we're going to do. And said, if they say, you come up here to us,
he said, that's what you're going to do. And what are you going to do when you get there?
He knew that God is guiding. And those fellows said to them, come on up here. And Jonathan said, that's our sign from the Lord. That's what we're supposed to do.
And so what did they do? They had to climb up there?
They had to climb up there. It was kind of hard. It was really a steep place. And so they had to climb up there
on their hands and feet?
Yes, their hands and feet. They got up there. When they did, God gave them the victory.
And what did the enemy say?
Well, when the enemy first heard them, when they called out, you know what? They laughed. They thought it was funny. And they said, look at these people. Look at Saul's people, his soldiers. He said, why, they're coming out of the caves and where they've been hiding. The little scaredy cats, the little rats are coming out.
Oh, I tell you something. They didn't know what was coming to them.
They had no idea what was fixing to happen to them. All of a sudden, the Lord just gave them a victory and gave them power.
And gave them courage.
Gave them courage, and they began to win the victory. 20 of their soldiers was killed.
And then there's a whole bunch of them.
There might have been a whole bunch of them, and there was, but all of a sudden, the ground began to shake. There began to be a noise. What did they do? They ran scared. They was like rats. Yeah, they were like rats running. What in the world? And do you know who else heard it and saw it? I don't know. I think the birds did. Well, I know the birds did. Did you know that Saul's watchmen back there, they saw it? Oh, and they said, who in the world is doing, what is going on here? They were shaking. They were scared. And did you know those people turned on one another? They had some of them that were cheaters and was wanting to get everybody's things. Thieves? They were thieves. And so they just acted like thieves, stealing everybody's things. And the next thing you knew, the victory was won. That whole bunch had just wiped themselves out.
And God gave the victory.
God gave the victory. And then Saul looked around and said, who did this?
He knew he was a coward. It wasn't him.
He knew he did. It wasn't him.
He was supposed to be the one to go.
Yes, he was. He was the king.
And he's supposed to lead in the battle.
He was supposed to lead that battle, but he was a coward, hiding.
Because he didn't live through God. And he got to get saved. He needs to say, Lord, forgive me.
He needs to say, Lord, forgive me. Help me. I need help. You've chosen me. He didn't, so Jonathan stepped up and became that courageous leader.
He's still looking for leaders?
He's still looking for leaders.
And guys, to be helpers?
And yes, he wants us to be helpers too. Everybody can't be the leaders.
One can be courageous.
We can be courageous and be the helper and be there for the Lord. He wants to help us. He says in his word over in Hebrews, the Lord is my helper. We don't have to fear, but the Lord is our helper.
You're scared sometimes.
When we can be scared, but what time we're afraid, we can still trust the Lord to help us and give us the victory. We want to be true and faithful. And right now, Chesley, I want you to be true and faithful and get your nap.
Oh, I was up yesterday.
I know you was up yesterday, and I think you're changing the subject.
And that's because I don't want to go to bed.
I know, but you're going back to bed because we're going to be going to church in a little while tonight.
No, I can go to church. Just take me.
No, Chesley, I don't think we'll be taking you tonight. You tell everybody goodbye, and you'll see them next week.
And we're on YouTube?
Yes, we're going to put this on YouTube in just a little while, probably within about 15 minutes. We do have a YouTube channel.
And it's under your name?
Yes, it's under my name, Karen Clymer. But they can just see it right here on our Wholesome Communication Facebook page. But right now, you're going to bed because you're doing a stall job.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that.
Yes, you are pretty good at that.
I love all you people. And did I forget to wink and flirt till you're done at 11?
Oh, Chesley, you forgot it, but now you've taken care of that, and you're still stalling.
Oh, you always guess it.
Goodbye, Chesley. We'll see you next Sunday afternoon, the Lord willing. You have a great weekend, a great rest of the week, everybody. Be blessed. Goodbye.